that's good. Good. Okay, this is probably our last one based on our time. Now, let me set this up. People like us that haven't, like myself, I haven't gone there yet. I think of in the body as this. I can feel it. I can hug my wife. I think if I go in the spirit realm and Jesus is there or the Holy Spirit's there or the Father's there, I think, okay, here's some spirit and I can put my hand through it. I don't think of myself as this. So this person's saying, I'm going to read that with that setup. Something I think about is the kind of body I will have in heaven. I feel accustomed to physical bodies that have heartbeats, they breathe, they have skin that feels warm, and I can't imagine any other kind. I know we will be spirits, I mean when they're caught up, but will you ask, Kat, if we breathe and we have hearts, do we feel warm? And one of the other person says, when can I touch the Holy Spirit? Can I hug him as a person?
Well, I will say this. You have to remember, heaven is a spiritual world. It is a literal world. Anyone who's a spirit, or if you're in your spiritual body and you're caught up to heaven, your body stays here. It doesn't necessarily die. Mine never dies. And every time I'm caught up and taken in my spirit, I can touch anyone in heaven. I can hug everyone. I can hug Jesus.
Does it feel like, it feels like this? Well, you can't see me, but it feels like touching
it literally feels like when I'm touching myself now. If you were caught up to heaven in your spiritual body and you saw maybe your great grandparents or somebody, you could literally hug them just like this. And you feel the substance in the spiritual world. Spiritual beings, spiritual mansions are literal. They're not little things that you can just put your hand through on the earth, in this physical realm. If an angel appeared with an assignment for God, if you reach out to touch them, unless God literally let you have a contact with them, but if you hugged an angel in your physical body, it feels like, the only way I can describe it is like you're hugging something made out of hay. I have every now and then, like, just shaken hands or hugged an angel. It's not been very often, but when I did, it was like they were made out of hay or straw. When there was like a give whenever I hugged them. But in heaven, in your spiritual body, it's a solid everything to you in your spiritual body, in the spiritual world. I mean, you have a mansion, you sit on the furniture, right? You ride real roller coasters, spiritual roller coasters in heaven. You feel the movement, you feel the sensation. And yes, you breathe in heaven. You have spiritual lungs, you have a spiritual voice, you literally sing in heaven. I know people have encounters where they talk. I try to slow down a little bit because I get excited. Many people in heaven can communicate with their minds. It's just the way it happens, but they also can talk. A lot of people choose to talk. Some, depending on your personality, will speak in your mind. And most of the people, the first people you meet in heaven may come up and say something to you, and you hear them in your mind, but their mouth isn't moving. You may answer. Most people will answer with a voice and say, "Did you just say something to me?" And when they realize this is part of being the normal lifestyle in heaven, but many people just like to hear their voice. And the choirs that sing in heaven, you hear them. They're moving their mouths. So you still use all those faculties. You can think, you can create, pick up the food. I was going to bring a piece of cake out and forgot. I think I ate it last night. like this cup. In heaven, they have cups. They have dishes to eat off of. And if I was in heaven, I'd pick up the spiritual cup in my spiritual body, and I feel it. I drink the water.
There you go.
I feel it going down in me. The one thing they don't have in heaven that you will not miss is there are no bathrooms in heaven. No bathrooms in heaven. Everything you eat, drink is a spiritual thing. Your body's spiritual. It's absorbed into your spiritual body. That part is every kind of food you can imagine. No animals are killed to provide it. It's all made out of it's spiritual substance. And so you sit down and say what you want on your plate. It appears it tastes just like real barbecue. I always say things people want: pizza, roast, there's no tofu in heaven. Sorry, you don't need it. Okay, styrofoam there. But you have a real life. They have a literal life. So they recognize people when they get excited to see them. So
that is the best explanation I've ever heard, because I've even asked that a number of times to different people. That's the best explanation. In other words, in so many ways, it feels the same.
Yeah.
hug him. And what about that? Could you hug the Holy Spirit? Is he a person that you could hug one day?
He is. He has a body. He has a body, and you usually can see the outline of his body in heaven. It's like he's a pretty good size. You see fire outlining it, the fire of God. He carries a lot of fire with him wherever he goes. He was involved in the baptism in fire in the upper room. So he carries fire. And he also carries the light of God, a rainbow of God. Sometimes you see it swirling around his entire image, but you can see the outline of him. In heaven, yes, he would hug you. He would actually hug you. You could hug him. You can hug the Father, which is one of the most glorious experiences you'll ever have, with the rainbow shooting in and out of him. And you see all these little beings of light. That was where you were, coming in and out, riding on that rainbow that moves. It moves. It's not stagnant. It moves in and out of him. And he'll take a wave of it and throw it across heaven, and it will go find who he wants, and it brings it back to him.
I love that. Wow. Well, Kat, that's our time today. Man, we could, like I said the other day, we could do for 2 hours and not get bored, but we'll be back. I think we've got you definitely scheduled for next Wednesday. It's Wednesdays with Kat and Steve, and once in a while we get you in another day. So thank you so much. Oh, tell people again now, how do they get a hold of you got 2 websites. Tell them, say that slowly so they can write it down.
If you're interested in any products there's actually 2 different entities or ways that we operate things. I am Kat Kerr, author, speaker, revelator, and I have katkerr.com. And nothing costs anything to go on there. There's many videos you can watch, some are training on how to live heaven culture, how to ask for abundant grace, which gives you fuel from heaven every day, or how to speak, to declare over your family members to be born again. There's so many hours of it, actually, and we had it dedicated to that site, which took a long time. There's interviews of Patricia King and other interviews of people talking to me, but it's a spiritual platform for God the Father, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, to say whatever they want said. And it's either recorded and put there or written there. There's testimonies there. It is the only place, really, on planet Earth that you can give to me. You go to the Treasury, which is one of the things you click on in katkerr.com. It talks about the Guardian Zone, if you want to be a supporting member. Or if you just want to give, you go to the Treasury and you can give there. I never ask people for money. You're not going to find me on some other website. There's many fake Kat Kerr Facebook pages. I have a public one. I have my public one, and I have my public YouTube. If you see people appearing or showing me asking for money, that is not me. The only place you can go is katkerr.com. The other one is revealingheaven.com. That's also the names of the 2 books I've published. I'm working on number 3. That's where you find out about my events. That's where you can buy products from my store. And there's a lot of them. We're creating more every day. God gave me a commission, which is why I go all the time. I was given a commission to reveal heaven to earth, to go on unending tours of heaven, of the spirit realm. I've been taken back in time, which is not weird. It happened in the Bible. I've been taken forward in time. I've seen glimpses of the new earth. I've seen things on God's own timeline. This is a powerful time, by the way. Don't be afraid. You should be rejoicing right now, because you will see justice. That's what God has. And he has me. I keep sending the army of heaven out to different places to do more exposure, which you are also allowed to do if you're a born-again believer. And on katkerr.com, you can find out about that. So Revealing Heaven is my business. It's One Quest International, creates heaven on earth. So you can go there to get all kinds of stuff and information, revelation. And then katkerr.com is where you get a lot more spiritual input, because I know you're hungry for it. And I love questions, especially children's questions. They don't have their mind. When you get revelation, your mind, it just goes blink because you can't get it. It's spiritually grasped, and spiritually you apply it to your life. It changes you. And so it says in the Bible, the things of God they are understood by your spirit man. Your flesh sometimes argues that can't be possible. God wouldn't do that. Don't go there. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you to understand it. But don't go to that where you want to shut out everything God has or wants to say. If you want more of him, you have to open yourself up to receive it. The one thing I have to add, because I always do it, if an angel appears to you and says, come, you're supposed to go with me, you need to test that spirit. And even I've done that a couple of times. You ask that spirit, that angel or that being that says, come, and you know they're a spiritual being, come and go with me, God's sending for you. You ask that spirit, are you a spirit of the Most High God who sent his son Jesus to die for the sins of this world? This is actually scriptural. That being cannot lie to you and say, oh, yes, I am, come, if it was one sent from Satan. If it was from Satan, it would disappear. It would say nothing. It would look very terrified because they don't expect you to ask that. And many people teach about how to take yourself to heaven and stuff. But one thing they don't always teach is you need to do that test. It keeps you from getting misrepresented by God or taking places you wouldn't want to go. So you test those spirits. If they're saved from God, it's okay to go.